Hi guys, Sam here from Adreno. Today I'm going to be assembling an Adreno Poseidon gun from scratch. We've been working really hard on our spear gun parts lately, so we're trying to expand that range and get a bit more gear in here for the spear gun builders. Today we're going to be using a few of those items, but for the full range, feel free to head on over to our website and check out the spear gun building section. First up, we're going to stick the barrel sticker on. To do that, we're going to remove the stickers on this barrel, give it a quick rub down with some isopropyl alcohol so the sticker sticks well. And then we're going to lay the sticker flat and sit the barrel down centered on it, and we'll wrap that sticker around the barrel. So these stickers usually peel off pretty easy and don't leave too much residue, which is nice. All right, cool. Now that we've got our stickers off, we've got a nice, clean black barrel. We're going to give it a quick spray with the rubbing alcohol. Just get any oil off it from our hands, clean it up nice. Do a nice wipe down. Once you've done that, you want to avoid handling the barrel until we're ready to put the sticker on. All right, now we're going to peel the backing off the sticker. Just make sure you've got a nice clean workspace for this. Don't want any dirt underneath. Now you notice one end of this sticker has a hole in it for hanging it up in the shop, so we want to cut that off at the end. So just the start of the sticker should line up with the end of the barrel that has the two holes for the handle. So we're going down this end with this. And we're going to center this up nicely. Actually, just going to grab my ruler for this one. If you can get someone to help you at this point, it's probably a good idea. It's a little bit tricky. So now we've got the sticker in the center of our barrel. We need to wrap it around. So I'm just going to bring it off the edge of my table here, and starting from the center, start wrapping that out. Let's give it a good once over, see if there's any bubbles in there that you've missed. This is looking pretty good. One little bubble. Nice. Now we're ready to trim it down. To trim it down, first I'm going to, nice sharp Stanley knife, I'm going to cut the end bit off, the excess length. So I've got my bit of excess sticker there. Now along the rail, we've got maybe 1-2 millimeters each side that we need to trim down. So I'm just going to run this blade flat along the track and do one side at a time. So I've got a little bit extra on this side down this end, so I'm going to start with this slightly longer end. And there we have it, all trimmed up. Looks pretty good. Managed to get the fish measuring guide center of the barrel there, which is nice. Logo's centered. And now we're ready to chuck our muzzle and our handle on. All right, so we've got our handle here and our muzzle. As you can see, the handle's going to come with 2 small stainless steel screws and 1 rubber O-ring. And our open muzzle over here, just a single screw and another rubber O-ring. For this build today, I've already checked the muzzle handle fit on nicely. They're nice and snug, so we're not going to worry about the rubber O-rings. So just chuck those to the side. And we're not stressed about the seal there because these barrels, they actually are plugged in the end, so it's not necessary. If you do find you've got a little bit of wiggle movement when you fit your handle or your muzzle, make sure to chuck that O-ring on there. All right, we're going to chuck the handle on first, which can be a little bit tight sometimes, so we're going to use a little bit of silicone grease, just make sure it gets in there nice and easy. Just going to put that around the end. Make sure you're putting it in the end of the barrel with the 2 holes. We can't see that now because we've got the sticker over it, but I know that that was the end I chose. That was pretty easy. You want to make sure that track from the handle actually lines up with the rail and the barrel as well. These handles are pre-drilled center, so you shouldn't be able to put the screws in unless it's lined up correctly. Just going to flick it over. Just feel around for where those holes were, and we're going to go straight through the sticker. Done. And that's our handle on. Nice solid, nice and lined up with the track. All right, next we're going to do the muzzle. Pretty much the same thing, just other end of the gun, and we've only got 1 screw this time. Again, a little bit of silicone grease, just make sure it slides in nice and easy. Again, lining up the track and the muzzle with the rail of the barrel. Once you've got the track lined up nice, you're going to flip it over and find the screw hole. Take our screw in, and we're good to go. Handle and muzzle. So next up, we're going to be rigging the shaft. So moving on to the shaft. I've chosen a 160 centimeter 7mm spring stainless steel shaft for this rig. There's Adreno FG shaft, you can find them on our website as well. They're made by Hunt. They come tri-cut tip. They're welded flopper pins, very well tuned. Like each shaft, nice flopper locks out once you've shot it. And it's gonna be rigging on the little mini fins here. Well, actually I'm gonna rig back, but you can rig on the mini fin too. These shafts are also really good for these stainless steel reverse mechs because they're tapered at the back. So that'll also fit like a Rife Euro, Pathos, or any of your European stainless mechs. Right, first things first, we've got to attach our muzzle bungee to the muzzle. It's a pretty small hole there, so I've got a single strand of Dyneema here, which we're going to pass through and use that to pull the muzzle bungee Dyneema back through. So, you can see that little hole at the end there. Run that through. Pass that through my muzzle bungee loop. I'm going to feed that back through the muzzle. There you go, that's pulled through. Now I'm just going to loop my muzzle bungee on. We're attached there. It's going to feed one side either, each side of that. So now that our muzzle bungee's on, we can get to putting our mono on our shaft, doing the full rig. All right, before we start with our mono, we're just going to put a nice cut on the end so it's easy to pass through your crimp. Just using a sharp pair of scissors, good little bit of angle. If that's squished or crushed, you'll really struggle getting it through these copper double barrel crimps. So I'm just going to pass one end through the crimp. Bring our shaft in. Like I said before, I'm going to rig to the very back hole. I like this because if you get a full pass through on a fish, it won't tend to toggle there. If you rig it through the fin and you get a full pass through, that kind of, your whole shaft acts like a flopper. And it can get really spun up if it's a bigger fish. Just passing that through the back. Back through our crimp. Now at this point, before I crimp it off, I like to burn a little blob on the end just as it add a bit of security. We have tested this out. You actually land fish without even crimping your crimp. I managed to land a wahoo and didn't realize I hadn't crimped it until I got the fish back in the boat. Little blob on the end, push that down. The other good reason to do it now is it keeps the flame away from your shooting line. Now I'm going to slide that back down to the crimp. And now I'm going to set the length of the loop. Now you don't want your loop to be too short, you don't want your loop to be too short, because that'll end up crushing in the mech, and that crush point will be a weak point as well. Quite often you see the big fish, the mono will snap right there at the shaft. So I want to leave a nice long loop. Probably 6 or 7 centimeters should be adequate for this one. I generally rig to this second fin from the back. It's been good in the past. Once we're happy with our length, we're going to crimp that off. Just crimping once at each end, nothing over the top. Now I'm going to square that up, and I'm going to pinch this down now. As you see, it's quite wide. So if I pinch it down a bit, it's going to stop it sort of hitting the mech on the way in. So just narrow that up a little bit. I'm going to chuck it in our gun. Make sure we're engaged before we run this line. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to run this mono up the left side of the shaft on the first run. Under the little line retainer on the muzzle, over the top. Just keeping pressure on it, run it down through the front there. Back down through our line release. Try not to get any loops on it. And I'll probably leave myself maybe 10 centimeters past the bungee there, just so I got a bit of excess to work with. Cut that off. So this is just what's known as a single wrap. I think it's we've got some sort of new staff using this gun on the bunker group trip soon, so just keep it nice and simple. The perfect example there of not cutting the mono properly. It's a little bit tight, just a little bit better cut. Crimp on. So once we got our crimp one side, passing through the bungee and just back through the other side of the crimp. So you don't want too much tension, just a little bit. Once you're happy with that tension there, I like to just kink it back against the crimp there. It's kind of come through. Cutting it off. I like to leave about 5mm tag end on this one. And then flex it out. Melt that end a little bit. Just be careful, that one. It's a bit harder to get it away from your shooting line. There we have it, that's shaft rigged. So next step will be the rubbers. All right, for the rubbers, we're going to be using some micro bore OptiBand rubber from USA Latex. I'm going to be running two 14s at around 65 centimeters. Should be pretty nice, low recoil, easy to load setup. For the bridles, we're going to use some 1.9mm waxed Dyneema. It's really hard wearing. These bridles tend to outlast my rubbers. They're great. I've been using the same bridles for over a year now. Not using a bridle ball either, just going to tie a knot for the micro ball because it's such a small hole in the rubber. And we've just got a little bit of constrictor here for tying the rubbers off. We're going to start by making our bridle or bridles. So you're going to want to take about, say, 20 centimeters of your Dyneema. Maybe a little bit less. Now each end of this I'm going to tie a small stopper knot. So I'm just going to use a little figure 8 knot in both ends. That's one end. And probably like my bridle length out of the rubber to be about 60mm, 6 centimeters. So total length I want there is about 80mm because we're going to have a little bit inside the rubber. my other knot, just check my length's pretty good. So it's about 70 now, but by the time I pull that tight, it should be on 80. Grab pliers, get a good tight cinch down on that knot, so don't want it slipping. Gonna cut our little tag end off here. Just melt the ends there. Awesome, that's one done. Got 2 of those. If you are running thinner Dyneema, it is worth doubling that knot, or if you're running a standard internal diameter rubber, you'll need a little bit bigger knot than this. The reason we get away with just that single figure 8 with this rubber is because of the micro bore size. All right, now we've got our bridles made. We're gonna cut our rubber down to length. Make sure we got a pretty good flat end to start with there. .65. These scissors are really good for cutting rubber. Not all scissors cut rubber equally. It's one band. Two. Don't need that anymore. So now we've got our bridles made and our rubbers cut. We're going to put the bridles into the rubber. So a little bit of silicone grease on each end, just to make it a bit easier to get in. And because I'm using micro bore rubber, which are a smaller hole in the middle of the rubber than your standard rubber. So usually you'd use a bridle tool. Because the hole's so small, I'm just going to use a small diameter punch and have a go at squishing these bridles in there. This can be a bit tricky, so bear with me. So I'm going to use the little tag end I left on there to start it. Try and if I can get that into the hole first, it's usually pretty easy. So I've got the rubber and the bridle set. I'm just going to use this punch to push it in the rest of the way. There we go, push it down about 10 mil, 20 mil, just give you plenty of room to tie your constrictor knot. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other rubber. Just make sure you don't put this one fully together yet. We've got to put it in the gun first. All right, that one was a bit harder. We got that one set now. Same thing, just gonna push that in. Make sure it goes down in there again. All right, that one is ready to go. At this point, we're going to feed them through our muzzle. Because this is a closed off muzzle, we can't add a loop power band in one go at the end. We need to make the rubbers in there. All right, now they're in the gun. We're going to go ahead and attach the other side of the rubber to the bridle. Exact same process as before. All right, now we're ready to tie our constrictor knots. Got a little bit of constrictor line here. Got that. We're gonna need 4 pieces of this. We've got 4 knots to tie. It's gonna take probably 20, 30 centimeters. I like to leave a little bit extra, much easier to tie the knot. I'll just make that 35 centimeters. I've got 4 pieces of that. Now we've got 4 bits of constrictor there, so I'm going to tie a loop in each end of these. That's just to help us tighten the knot down after. So I'm just doing a loop and an overhand knot here. All right, now we're ready to tie our constrictor knots. If you haven't tied constrictor knots before, we've got a few other videos online as well that show you how to tie the constrictor knot. All right, our constrictor knots are tied. Now we're just going to slide them down to the end and cinch them off tight. I like to run them pretty close to the cut of the rubber. At the end, probably only leaving like 3 or 4 mil there. So slide it down, like bed the knot in, just put a little bit of tension on it so it can't move. So they're all sort of semi-tight now, they won't slide around. So we're going to grab our screwdriver and a bridle tool, punch, any other sort of object you can get through your loops, and use these to pull it tight. I do want to get a nice tight pull on this because I've only got that small knot holding the bridle in. It's actually good, the silicone grease we put on earlier helps that knot slide down nice and tight without sort of burning or getting any friction on the rubber. I don't know if you've ever tried to put a brass ball in micro bore rubber and you manage to get it in there. You do run the risk of the rubber snapping because it puts so much pressure on the outer wall. Because the brass balls tend to be too big for this kind of rubber. So it's just something to keep in mind. So last rubber. All right, all our knots are tight. I'm just going to trim the tag ends off. Only showing a little bit of the bridle there. That's because the knots haven't been pulled up tight against the constrictor knots yet. Stretch that out, and there you go. Roughly 60 mil, probably 70 that one. Same again. Now if I haven't run out of gas, I'm just going to melt these tag ends down so they're nice and neat. Just fluff them up a little bit first. No need to hold it there for too long. We don't want to burn our rubber. There you have it, pretty nice funky looking set of rubbers. Can't wait to try them out. So last touch, we're just going to add simple shark clip and swivel to the handle so we've got somewhere to attach our float line. To attach this, I'm going to be using, again, 1.9 wax Dyneema and tying off with a double opposing noose knot. All right. So for this knot, probably want quite a decent amount of line, so about 60 centimeters. Our gun set up, so you're passing through the little connection here on the bottom of your handle. Right, once through there, through the shark clip, back through the handle, back through the shark clip. So essentially now we've got 2 loops running through, and we've got 2 tag ends. I've used way too much Dyneema. And now we're going to tie the opposing nooses, so 1 on each end. Around. If you're struggling with this knot too, we have a more detailed video of this on our website. So I've got 1 noose done, tying the other end. The good thing about opposing knots like this is that they just keep getting tighter and tighter the more pressure you put on them, and over time. It's not good if you want to undo it. So just slide the 2 nooses so they're kind of in the center of our loops there, nice and even. Looks good. Get your pliers to pull each noose nice and tight. After I've tightened that first one, just lining up the second one again. Give it a pull on the whole setup and trim the ends off. I see that piece is going to be good for a bridle down the track, so don't chuck that out. Yeah, left probably 5mm tag, 4mm tag, same as before. We're just going to melt the ends. Probably left over with about 3mm there, so just a little bit so the knot can settle. By the time that's worn in, it'll be really nice and flush. There you have it, shark clip is attached. And that's, we can now connect a speed spike or straight into a float line there. And there you have our finished gun. So basically an Adreno Poseidon assembled from scratch with an upgraded shaft and rubbers. So if you're looking for this stuff on the website, you've got a Adreno Poseidon reverse mech handle, just a 2.6 shark clip with swivel. This is our 1.9 waxed Dyneema. Barrel sticker we've used on this one is an Ascension barrel sticker, so the blue camo. Underneath we have a 110 aluminium Poseidon barrel. The shaft we've used today, Adreno FG shaft. We've used a 7mm shaft in 160 centimeters. And the rubbers we decided to use were the Microbore OptiBand rubbers. I believe that's called Wasp. I'm really excited to try these out. Underneath there, connecting our mono, just your standard South African muzzle bungee. And the muzzle we've used today is the Adreno Poseidon open muzzle. Fits 2 bands, probably the best fit for that one. Now we're really excited to launch this range of spear gun building parts. It's been something we should have done years ago. It's been on our mind for a long time. We're really keen to see what you guys can come up with. So we're going to run a little competition. If you hashtag on Instagram, pimp my spear gun, and tag Adreno in your post, we're going to be giving out a $100 voucher every month for the best pimped out spear guns. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. You can check out more content on our YouTube channel. Visit one of our stores and shop online at www.spearfishing.com.au.